Gas station.
Gas to show. That's not the entrance. Bah!
Oh, get up!
No.
Get up! Can you get up? Someone's at the door. Someone's at the door.
Did you die?
Yeah, that's a
Pretty
death.
sure, yeah.
I'm not gonna say I'm sick of superhero stuff, but it gets to the point where it's just like it's like does everything superhero related now? Every time it's like superhero related, I can't help but just like draw the parallels. Just like everyone's trying to do the superhero thing because of the success of like the Marvel Cinematic Universe and all that, and it just feels. I hate the fact that it seems like this is becoming the thing, but I think people are gonna get sick of comic book here and like superheroes, the same way that the general population got sick of zombies.
It's oversaturation.
Yeah. And I can see on the horizon that there may be something that will pick up the pieces and, keep and continue trends going in certain directions. For instance, I think the next big cash cow in terms of intellectual properties in the movie industry is video games. Because I know that people said for the longest time, it's impossible to make a comic book movie that can work on the big screen or on TV or anything like that. Whereas here in the last 3 to 5 years, we've actually had some pretty good adaptations that have actually excelled and like exceeded a lot of people's expectations. For instance, The Last of Us, which I think is still right now, it's like a high standard for adapting a video game into a TV series. And I would say the Super Mario Brothers movie it was a safe bet, and it's paid dividends because now it's made over like $1.5 billion. I remember when I saw the trailer for it, I was just like, this is going to make $1 billion. If this is at least passable, it will make $1 billion. Instead of it being passable, it was really good. And then, of course, the Sonic the Hedgehog movies. Those are some other ones that have taken off. And then, of course, you look at, what is it? Brain. Not work. Damn it. Why you do this? Ugh. But needless to say, comic book movies, I think, are going to become more of a... I'm not going to say, like, they're going to completely disappear. There's going to be, like... I think they'll be in the in pop culture forever now. And when a good one really comes out and people really gravitate towards it, I think it'll be a big thing, but I don't think it'll ever be as big as when Endgame came out. I don't think it'll ever be that big again.
I think there's potential for DC to put together a cinematic universe that ends up being at least close to as engrossing as Marvel did.
Yeah.
But it's is it like very, very likely? I don't know. There's potential, yes, but is it ever going to happen? I don't know. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of stuff there to play with DC and building a universe and everything. There's a lot of stuff that could be adapted into something more serious and just well put together, kind of like they did with MCU. Like
Death Battle.
Ant-Man, Marvel's founding member of the Avengers.
The Atom, DC's legendary Mighty Might.
Good things come in small packages.
The bigger they are, the harder they fall.
We're just trying to get these out of the way.
He's Wiz, I'm Boomstick.
And it's our job to analyze their weapons, armor, and skills to find out who would win a death battle. Did you know that ants can lift 50 times their own body weight? That'd be like if you lifted a car straight over your head.
I did, thanks to my fun fact of the day calendar. Also, Hawaiian pizza was invented in Canada yesterday.
Well, I bet your calendar didn't tell you that Dr. Henry Pym, aka Hank, was considered a genius at a very early age. By 3 years old, doctors declared that he was smarter than both his parents combined.
He eventually majored in biochemistry and became one of the most successful scientists in his field. He had big ideas about shrinking the size of cargo to reduce shipping costs. Logistics.
All of which made him a laughingstock in the scientific community and sparked a long-lasting insecurity and need to prove himself.
But he did it. He developed a working serum. He went from laughingstock to Christmas stocking. The much better stock, right behind Bean and Live.
So, naturally, he tested the serum on himself, like any self-respecting scientist would, and shrank down to the size of an ant.
And just when things started going south, a sweet little ant, let's call her Aunt Hathaway, swooped in and led Hank safely back to his lab where he could return to full size.
Hank then harnessed the serum and became the superhero Ant-Man. Along with his new identity came a fascination in entomology, which makes total sense. Ants are fascinating.
Did you know that ants can talk to
I
each
thought
other
we
in
were
a
talking
bunch-
about Adam for a second. This backstory is vastly different than the Ant-Man film, as far as I remember.
Well, no. Well, Hank Pym, like the fact that they skimmed over him and his origin story, I think is a detriment because his story has a lot more depth to it than people give credit for. I know why they went with Scott Lang because, you know, he's a more comedic relief kind of thing.
Oh, right. It was Scott.
Yeah.
Two different. That's another reason I thought we were talking about Adam, because the names were different. I've never heard of Hank Pym until just now. I'm not a comic book reader.
Well, Hank
Don't lynch me.
Pym's Michael Douglas in the Ant-Man movies. The mentor, the one
The
that gives
older
him the
guy.
suit.
Okay.
That's Hank Pym.
different ways, through touch, sound, or even sharing information
I also
by
have a
barfing
memory
at
disorder, so don't lynch me for that either. I just don't know what I'm talking about half the time.
That's how it goes.
each other.
It's actually called trophallaxis, and they're not barfing per se. It's more like passing food mouth to mouth.
Gross! Hank figured out how to communicate with his new pets, not by barfing, but by creating a cybernetic helmet that mirrors an ant's antenna. And he's even developed genuine relationships with some ants, like Ulysses' ant here.
But he didn't stop there. Hank developed a lot of amazing tech like a stinger pistol that focuses his bioenergy into a stun beam, and image-inducing camouflage to mask himself as an ant. It worked so well it fooled Reed Richards, the smartest guy on the planet.
He also built a suit that runs on that nifty serum he made back in his lab. It lets him shrink thanks to the newly discovered Pym
Pym
particles, named after himself. Ah, classic Hank.
And the Pym particle is the key to unlocking the fundamental constants of the quantum mechanics at play here. They enable you to decrease the distance between atoms. However, in order to do that, he'd have to change the Bohr radius, the ratio of electron mass to the distance the electrons orbit an atom's nucleus.
Well, of course. Like how when you make a bagel pizza, you can't fit the whole pizza on the bagel. Believe me, I've tried. It's too small. You just gotta put less on.
Sure, Boomstick. So the Pym particles are actually displacing mass to an alternate dimension in order to maintain that ratio.
Oh, it's like having a second bagel to put the rest of your pizza on. I get it.
But if that were true, he shouldn't be able to punch with full-size strength if he has less mass.
And he's definitely lighter, because otherwise he'd crush the sweet antsy rides like Vincent Van Gogh here.
His mass is being replaced with massless neutrinos, but that doesn't adequately explain how he can have less mass and seemingly more mass at the same time.
Sure it does, Wiz. Trust Pym and his particles. Look at the guy. He's explaining the whole thing while wearing a lab coat. What's more trustworthy than that?
I was just chalk it up to just be like comic books, because when you try and add real world logic to this, it's just like, yeah. Also, Superman isn't fucking real, so why are we arguing about this? Because it's just like I know that it basically comes down to just people who try to attribute it in real world stuff. But
I guess it's the difference between Superman is an alien from a planet and he is immortal and he has steel, like skin like steel. He cannot be hurt, you know. As opposed to being like, well, taking this actual science thing, what we're doing is changing this thing here and this thing here, and then scientists start going, that's not how that works.
No, it's not.
It's one thing to be like, he shrinks because he made a shrink ray. And it's another thing to start trying to explain the science behind it and then getting it all wrong. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, it's like Back to the Future. I hate to tell like a lot of people out there, but Back to the Future is, in terms of how we understand quantum mechanics, it's actually impossible for time travel to work like that. So, yeah, watching Back to the Future still doesn't mean that I don't love Back to the Future, because, hey, it's an interesting concept, it's fun, it's all that, but, yeah. But for me, there's just people who just take it way too seriously, and just like I always just go with it. Like, at the end of the day, it's like, yeah, raise your hand if it's like, hey everybody, quick question: do these people really exist? No, they do not.
But
So
we're just
stop
not
taking it so
something
seriously.
You're the exception.
You think you understand this?
Oh, of course. He's small but strong. You said something about a boar, so I guess you wanted ham on that pizza, but I already made the pizza.
Will you take that coat off?
No. Oh.
Regardless, there is virtually no limit to Hank's ability to shrink. He can go beyond subatomic down to the underspace, a plane of existence below all realities in the Marvel Universe.
And Hank has literally changed his biology. He's rewritten his own chemical makeup to prevent anyone else from changing his size. And he's used PIM particles so much, he's now got an energy field around him that lets him change the size of people or objects on the fly, through touch or by straight up firing PIM particles in the air.
He's never shy about using them either. He eventually supplied his wife, Janet Van Dyne, with some PIM tech to become the Wasp, his partner in crime fighting.
The two ended up rubbing shoulders with A-listers like Thor, Iron Man, and the Hulk to take down Loki. Ant-Man and the Wasp were actually the ones that captured him and pitched the idea of forming the Avengers.
Unfortunately, Hank's insecurities started to creep back in, and he felt that if he wanted to keep up with the big heroes, he was going to have to think bigger.
Enter a bunch of those PIM-powered alter egos like Yellow Jacket and Giant Man, where he can grow anywhere from 12 feet tall to so big he can enter the overspace, the polar opposite of the underspace.
There he met Eternity, who called him Earth's Scientist Supreme. Something he won't let you forget.
Hank pushed himself to these insane heights, even though he knew the strain on his body could be fatal.
But he simply didn't care and kept pushing himself. Thus, his greatest and worst creation was born. Ultron.
Yep, all the Tin Man Tron was created by Hank, not Tony like the movies. But the mass murder butt thing turned out pretty much the same. Big swing and a miss there.
The fallout
Well
from
done.
Ultron left Hank in a bad place, to say the least. His guilt made him feel like an utter failure, and that his best work was behind him. This led Hank to do unspeakable things.
A real low-life move. And even though poor mental health doesn't excuse this behavior, it was clear that Hank needed help.
Also, the thing about the PIM particles that Hank didn't understand at the time was that they had a very adverse effect on the human brain. So, on top of his mental health problems, on top of his substance abuses, on top of everything else, yeah, just...
He suffered multiple mental breakdowns, endured the physical toll of the PIM particles, and had bipolar disorder that went undiagnosed for years.
So Hank finally did the best thing he could. He acknowledged his problems, got the help he needed, and committed to self-improvement.
And with that help, Hank slowly started making things right. He rebuilt the West Coast Avengers, gave Scott Lang his blessing to become the second Ant-Man, and finally defeated Ultron.
He created a backdoor Trojan infiltration code to defeat Ultron that was so advanced, it went on to replicate and evolve all on its own to create a new species made up of artificial intelligence.
They don't call him the god of modern AI for nothing. Hank has showed over and over again that he's an integral part of the Marvel Universe.
Not just by ways of his scientific contributions or victories in battle, but by proving that heroes come in all shapes and sizes. This episode is sponsored by BetterHelp.
It can be easy to...
p.com/deathbattle.
Ray Palmer was born your average human-sized person. He grew up in the Northeast, studied physics at Ivy University, and did everything Mama and Papa Palmer told him to do. Probably.
Everything was pretty typical for Ray until one fateful night when he took a walk to take his mind off a frustrating experiment and saw a meteor fall from the sky.
He ran off to the crash and found himself a life-changing piece of a white dwarf star, and immediately started messing around with it. Who wouldn't?
Typical.
He discovered that he could focus ultraviolet rays through it and shrink inanimate objects. There was just one problem. When he shrunk things, they exploded. Every time.
I do not see the problem. Sounds like he found a foolproof way of blowing stuff up. Case closed.
Ray was determined to figure out how to shrink objects without blowing them up. But first, he went on a hike with his nature club. And as a fellow scientist, I have to question his priorities.
But hey,
Yeah.
it seems to work for him. I support it. Different hikes for different mics, am I right?
While in a cave, the ceiling suddenly collapsed, trapping everyone inside. After searching high and low for another exit, Ray found a small opening and had an idea. He could try to shrink himself down and get help, even if it meant he might explode before he got the chance.
But he didn't explode. I hope this story has a happy ending at least.
Perplexed, Ray determined there must have been something special about him that made him uniquely immune to the explosive fate. Something super scientifically convenient that we never get any more information on.
So he got to work and created himself a suit to harness the power of the white dwarf star and became the Atom.
Atom uses the white dwarf fragment to decrease his size while having control over his density, which makes a lot of sense considering that white dwarfs have the mass of a star, like the sun, but their volume is more like the Earth's, making them among the densest objects in space.
Just a teaspoon of the stuff could weigh up to 100 tons. That's one strong spoon.
Damn.
Also, the fact he's carrying that around.
Right? I was like kind of thinking that right then. I was like, so how did he lift that and take it back over?
When
Wherever he
Atom
took it.
shrinks and shifts his weight, he's actually sending his extra mass to a dimension called the mass zone.
Where, Adam could maybe live forever. At one point, Ray's apprentice, Ryan Choi, was murdered by Deathstroke, but willed some of his mass to the mass zone and was able to survive in that dimension. So these guys can potentially cheat death, but would be stuck there without any outside help.
But from one scientist to another, what's most impressive is Ray's creation of the Bio Belt. That's what allows Adam to use the power of the white dwarf and shrink while maintaining any weight, from immaterial to his full 180 pounds. There's even been times where it's stated that he was able to become almost as dense as a white dwarf star itself for a few seconds.
The belt is also how he can travel through phone lines or through the air, on currents or light beams. Over time, Ray has spread out the white dwarf power to other parts of his suit, and now the bio belt acts as a utility belt for his shrunken weapons and tech. It also prevents his size or mass from being altered by any outside forces.
And while he can only increase his size back to his natural 6 feet in height, his ability to shrink is near limitless. He can travel between subatomic space to the microverse, the foundation of all reality in the DC universe, where atoms become the size of planets.
Typically, he can increase back to his normal size with such force he can smash through diamonds. So if Adam increases his size too much while still within the microverse, he could blow up the entire fabric of reality from the inside out.
Shrinking down to that size means that he can shrink small enough to rearrange atoms themselves.
Yep, Ray can take individual molecules and rapidly expand them to cook up a small nuclear blast in the palm of his hand. Oh, Ray Palmer. I just got that.
He also once disarmed a bomb by rearranging its atoms. At that size, he can move at the velocity of light. So fast and so randomly, he basically acted as a barrier between any and all possible atom combinations. But come on, there's no scientific explanation here for him to have superhuman senses or awareness to comprehend being everywhere at the same time.
Ah, it makes total sense. If you're small enough, you can fit in almost everything, everywhere, all at once. Like how you can fit an entire pizza into a calzone, and then you have a whole pizza everywhere inside the calzone. Man, I get it. Science is pizza.
No, science is all I have. Why are you doing this to me?
On top of all of Ray's amazing inventions and abilities, he's also got some more classic weapons, like a laser blaster and a frickin' sword he used to fight a giant crocodile. relative to his size.
That was when Ray was believed to be dead, but was actually just stuck at 6 inches tall and stranded in the Amazon rainforest, where he encountered an alien race known as the Catarthans.
And get this, he ended up leading a rebellion against their tyrant king and became the ruler of all the Kardashians.
And his heroism didn't stop there. The Atom was a very well-respected hero, and was even asked to join the Justice League of America shortly after it was formed.
He fought alongside Batman and his best bud, Hawkman. And you don't fight with those guys without picking up a thing or two.
Impressive combat skills aside, Atom's greatest contribution to the legendary team was always his incredible mind.
He once created kryptonite inside of Superman by realizing that if he gathered up enough Kryptonian protons, they would eventually become radioactive.
While stranded in limbo, Atom realized that if the Flash sped up the rate of a nuclear reaction's stellar evolution to exhaust its core, they could turn a fire demon into a black hole and use it as a wormhole to get back to Earth.
He's a brilliant, hard-working, and determined scientist that never stops
That's
working
not
on
how
a
that
problem
works,
until
but
he's
okay.
found a solution. I mean, if I figured out how to blow stuff up as well as he did, I would have stopped right there. I'm the hero that blows stuff up. Wouldn't even need to change my name.
Ray Palmer lived the dream, going from research scientist to legendary superhero. He picked up the pieces presented to him and built something greater than the sum of its parts.
Who knew this tiny titan with massive brains would have just as much brawn to back it up?
This episode of All right, the combatants are set. We've run the data through all possibilities.
It's time for a death battle!
Who you got?
I really don't know. There's a lot of... Seems to be a decent amount of pseudoscience going on with both sides here.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. Adam?
I like Ant-Man.
I'm gonna have to go with. I'm gonna have to go with Adam on this one.
I'll be the oddball.
I think it's just kind of a theme that DC ends up getting a little more ridiculous a lot of the times than Marvel does. Or am I mixing them up?
Oh, dude, it's just like pre-crisis Superman. Jesus Christ. Pre-crisis Superman is stupid. Anyway, I guess let's go into it. 2 votes for Adam, 1 for Ant-Man. Let's check it out. Here we go.
You should pick on someone your own size, relatively speaking.
How did you do this? It's laced with a particle I've never seen before.
They're called Pym particles, and I'm Hank Pym, scientist supreme. Huge.
Bilbo just can't. Really loves them microphones, don't he?
Sorry.
Yeah, let's do this. There we go. And readjusting. Yay, I think we're good still.
Should have knocked.
Fine. Balls.
You're using pieces of a white dwarf star? That's cute.
Everything we needed already existed. We just needed to be smart enough to put the pieces together. Scientist Supreme?
Nice balls.
Did you know that at any given moment, there are about 2.5 million ants under your feet?
I mean, that makes sense, but why are you bringing that up right now?
Because they're about to introduce themselves.
Took you long enough. Okay, let's try this. I'll hack his belt. You lay low and let me know what you find. Huh?
Yes,
Nice
Queen.
try. search every electron path in his gun and study their probability wave functions. I just might be able to.
Oh boy.
What's happening? He must be reaching his limit. If we don't get out of here quick, he's gonna destroy all of reality. Now, my pets! You have your tricks and your tools, but I created something beyond the limits of human existence. I operate on a scale you can't even comprehend.
How?
You can't be afraid to think big.
That was kind of brutal.
Damn.
Ant-Man and Atom both had many answers to each other's abilities and arsenals. Both were able to store various weapons at a shrunken state, both were trained in judo, and they both could obviously keep up with each other's ability to shrink at will.
Though there was one small thing Atom couldn't answer to. The ants! Hank's bond with his pets lent him some small advantages, and Ray just didn't have enough anti-ant tools in his bio belt.
But in Atom's defense, the fact that he could punch with a fist packed with all of his mass meant that a close-up fight, while small, would leave Hank with few options since he can only punch with his normal human strength.
Even still, all Ant-Man would need to do is keep his dissed ants with the help of his insect confidants and devise another plan of ant attack. Something Hank has no shortage of.
For instance, Ant-Man could alter Atom's size thanks to the PIM particle field he generates. Hank would just need to stall long enough to remove or disable Atom's biobelt, and he's had no trouble hacking enemy tech in the past.
But even with the biobelt busted, it wouldn't stop Atom's ability to shrink, since the white dwarf power is contained throughout his suit. Destroying the belt only meant that Ant-Man could alter Atom's size.
Whereas Hank has literally rewritten his own biology to prevent outside size alteration. And while Atom's abilities are definitely impressive, they are limited, and Ant-Man simply aren't, at least by comparison. Hank could always match Ray's size or just take the fight to the overspace where he would have the edge, both physically and mentally.
The overspace can mess with the human mind, but we've seen that Hank can handle it.
But if the Scientist Supreme is really so smart, why didn't he just immediately go up Atom's butt and blow him up from the inside?
What's wrong with you, Wiz?
The Thanos
Aren't you
argument.
a fellow man of science?
This is the meanest thing you've ever done to me.
Adam sized up Ant-Man, but in the end, he was the one who had to say, Uncle.
The winner is Ant-Man. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned. We
Cha-ching.
Oh,
have a new death battle releasing
Sorry.
every 2 weeks this year. And click the join button to get new perks and extra content. Planet level members even...
wait.
So don't miss out.
Who's the next one?
That was Dark Souls. Ah. It's the Ashen One versus the Dovahkiin.
The Chosen
Chosen
Undead
Undead
versus
versus
Dragonborn.
Yeah.
Okay. That'd be an interesting one.
Hell yeah.
So, damn. Okay.
Obviously, the Dragonborn wins, though.
Yeah, I mean, come on.
Oh, well, I mean, I guess maybe not late game. Like, late game Dark Souls, people would have a chance against him.
Yeah.
His attack's not having a wind-up, though. Like, you just play, like, imagine, like, you're playing Dark Souls in the Dark Souls engine with Dark Souls controls, and somehow they smash Skyrim together in the Skyrim engine with Skyrim controls, and you're going up against a guy who's playing as the Dovahkiin. Boos! What are you going to do about that? Know what I mean? Nate,
Yeah.
you falling asleep over there?
Nah, I get what you're saying, dude. I mean,
It's like there's no wind up to his attacks, so it's gonna be hard to dodge
yeah.
his shit when he can just say words and do things to you.
Yeah, because he, honestly, the Chosen Undead, like, what are they gonna do? Like, what can they do?
I mean, he has spells and stuff. Like, there's plenty of spells and crazy stuff you can do by the ends of the games. I just don't think that they can beat the Dragonborn with their ability to literally speak you into oblivion, pretty much.
Yeah, all they Fusro da. Next thing you know, you're staying on the wall.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
you're having to run back from the last bonfire.
Yep, running back like God.
That's
dang
the
it,
only
not
thing
again.
is like the chosen undead can't really be killed permanently.
Yeah,
So that's the only reason I might say he might eventually triumph against the Dragonborn, because that's the whole theme. Like if he's
Yeah.
killed, he just comes back.
maybe so.
Learns each time and gets better each time until eventually he can win somehow.
So Nick, you and I were wrong. Kate was right.
It is what it is. Like I said, I didn't really know to start with. I just picked one.
I just did too. I was thinking Ant-Man, but then I was just like, frick it, Adam. Well, because why not? So
I was just kind of like, maybe DC beats one. I don't know. Like, I didn't really know what to base it on with this one. Like, I was just like, I don't understand enough of the things going on. But once they explained it at the end, like him rewriting his own DNA to essentially make himself unmanipulatable by anyone but himself,
yeah,
is a huge advantage there.
Yeah.
Ooh,
And him
yes.
being able to manipulate other people's sides is a huge advantage there too. So, yeah, I kind of get why they went with Ant-Man winning.
Yeah. Well, anyway, thank you very much, everyone, for tuning in. This was a death battle, Ant-Man versus Adam, Marvel versus DC, and hope that y'all enjoyed. And I guess until next time, I'm Nate.
I'm Kate.
I am Nick.
Y'all be good people. We'll see you in the next one. Peace.